Hey guys, I am joined today by the glow up queen herself, Izzy Utterson. I am so excited for this one. Honestly, I just said to Izzy, I have so many questions for you and I'm going to save it for this podcast. But she is amazing. She is a huge TikTok star and the queen of the glow up. So welcome, Izzy.
Thank you. Thank you for such a lovely introduction.
Thank you so much for coming. So take us back because we were actually just saying that we have so much in common where our lives have just completely changed in the last couple of years.
Yeah.
So before the Glow Up Queen was launched, when did you, what were you doing before?
So I was working in social media.
Yeah.
And I did that kind of fresh out of university. I studied history at university, which has nothing to do with anything that I'm doing now. So we love that for me. And fresh out of that, I went to work at a huge beauty company. So I was kind of always surrounded by beauty and glow, very much where I was. And I was working in social media. So it was very at the forefront of that idea. But it's not something I felt particularly passionate about with myself at that time, shall we say. I kind of had gone through a breakup and I'd just been diagnosed with psoriasis, which is an autoimmune disorder which affects your skin. And I was kind of in the heights of that. And I'd kind of fallen into this.
And this is when you're working the social media job?
This is when I'm working the social media job. And I'd fallen into really unhealthy patterns.
Okay.
So binge drinking, binge eating. And I think I'd always sort of struggled a bit my relationship with food, but it had gone so dramatically the other way this time round. And I think when you're experiencing, and I think as a young woman where so much value is put on what you look like, or at least we place so much value on what we look like, when your skin's kind of having this reaction and you're putting on weight rapidly and you're drinking loads, so your mental health is all over the place and you're surrounded by all this beauty and perfection, it does something to your mind. And I think your
body is just running on that adrenaline and that high cortisol and that kind of fight or flight mode.
Exactly. And I stayed in that fight or flight, I would say, probably for a good few years. You know, I continued working. I moved company to more of a wellness company. And ironically, it's where I learned so much of what I know.
That's amazing.
Yeah, everyone always says, how do you know? And that's how, really.
Oh, okay. And was that still in social media, but with a different company?
With a different company, yeah. So always kind of working in social media, but not, you know, whether it was in wellness, beauty, skincare, which it always was, not necessarily taking care of myself still.
Yes, yeah, but almost like picking up these like insider tips along the way.
Exactly that.
And so when you were doing these jobs, so when you were working in beauty and makeup, that was when you were diagnosed with psoriasis. And was that pre or post breakup?
Post.
Interesting.
Yeah, so I was 21, I'm 27 now, and it happened, and it can just happen randomly. It can be caused by an illness. It can be caused by stress. Mine was triggered by kind of stress-induced illness. Yeah. And it just overnight happened. And it was my final year of uni when this happened. And it kind of took over my life basically for about 3 years, I would say. It was pretty all-consuming of my life.
And just so everyone understands, can you kind of just describe psoriasis and the symptoms that you were?
Yeah, so I guess the easiest way to explain it to people who don't know, it's a little bit like eczema, but it's an autoimmune disorder rather than a skin condition. So if you imagine somebody with diabetes, their body's attacking their pancreas. Your body's attacking your skin with psoriasis. So it comes out like red rashes all over your body, but there are varying kinds of it. I had pustula, which meant I was covered in pus all over my body from what kind of looked like wounds. So it was really it wasn't, it's a bit of dry skin. It was really quite aggressive. And what can happen, rarely happens, what can happen when it gets that bad is it blocks your pores.
Right.
So I talk about being in hospital, and I was kind of hospitalized for a brief time because if it does that, you're at risk of pneumonia and lots of other kind of infections and diseases. So I think we think of it as quite a light, it's a skin thing, but it's a lot heavier than that. And what that causes, autoimmune, is a lot of inflammation in your body, and it affects your mind and your energy. So there's lots of different things that it's affecting outside of the obvious physical symptoms.
And it has such a knock-on effect, like you say, to your mental health as well. Especially at that kind of age, it's such a, like, those are such formative years, and you've just come out of a breakup. Then you're experiencing this. It's just like, you must have just felt so, I mean, give me a break.
I know. You do feel a bit like that. And then, ironically, it's the best thing that ever happened to me.
Really? Okay, this is what is just so inspiring. I love that, like, it sometimes often takes that rock bottom moment to then completely turn your life around. So tell us about that.
Yeah, it's interesting you say that rock bottom moment. I don't think it was so much a moment as it was a kind of rock bottom period.
Phase,
And it's that it was a realization that I didn't want to live like this anymore. I didn't want to be this unhappy anymore. And I don't think rock bottom has to look the same for everyone. I don't think it has to be as hardcore and dramatic for every single person. But what a rock bottom really is this realization that actually I'm not happy with the way my life's going. I'm not happy with the way I'm living.
It's enough.
Exactly that. So it was that realization really of enough is enough. And I've spoken about it before. My mum was diagnosed with Alzheimer's in 2021.
Yeah.
And that was a real trigger moment for me of enough is enough. Because I couldn't show up for her, and I couldn't show up for my family and myself in the way that I needed to, in the way that I was going to have to prepare for this mental battle for the rest of, who knows how long. And I think I just couldn't continue living the way I was living. Something had to give. So that was my rock bottom moment, shall we call it, where I realized that, okay, I've got to figure this out mentally.
For her sake,
for her sake, for my sake, for my dad's sake, my brother's sake, and everyone around me, so that I can be strong. Exactly. Exactly.
Wow. I mean, I can really, really relate to all of this. As the same happened, we would obviously just saying there's so many things that we share, but same with me. My mum got really ill, and that was again like a turning point for me, and going into all of these routines and everything. And I think often when you're in this moment of where you almost feel like there's so much chaos and disruption going on around you, you kind of go in on yourself, and you're like thinking, well, for me anyway, I thought, what can I control? How can I actually focus on the things in my life that I can control, and what impact is that going to have? And so for me, it was that moment. And was it the same for you, where you just felt, okay, right?
Exactly that. I literally made a TikTok on this last night, talking about things you can control versus things you can't control. And when I started really kind of reading more and, self-help books, I guess, let's call them, but really actually quite informative things, there are things, there are things in life that are chronic problems, and there are things that are circumstantial problems. And chronic problems would be something like our mothers being ill. There's nothing we can really do in that moment to fix that. And certainly, with what my mum's going through, there's no cure. It is what it is, and we have to just live with it and deal with it. But then there are circumstantial things. What I can control is how I respond to it. I can control how I show up for myself. I can control making sure that the time I spend with her is quality time. I can control that I feel the best that I possibly can, so that when I do spend time with her, I can show up.
Energy, and you're
present. Have energy, exactly, and I'm present, and that I'm not kind of living in a way where I'm not mentally prepared. I think with any kind of glow up or changing your life, it really stems from focusing on your mental health and mental wellness, and what are tools I can equip myself with, because life is going to throw obstacles at you.
100%.
Whoever you are, whatever your circumstances, life is going to throw obstacles at you. But what you can do, and the greatest act of self-love and self-care that you can do, is prepare yourself so that when those obstacles and stresses, which inevitably will come to you, you have the tools to deal with them.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's kind of just setting yourself up for those moments and giving yourself that strong, foundation to be like, okay, I've got this.
Totally.
So what were your first kind of steps in that? Because obviously you went from, it's quite one extreme to the next, isn't it?
Yeah.
But I don't know whether it was one of yes, I think it was one of yours that I was watching last night, where it's going from 0 to 100.
Mm-hmm.
Why don't you go from 0 to 10?
Yeah.
And then that way you'll find it easier to stay consistent. And it's the same with Pilates, exercise, movement, mindset. So what was your 0 to 10 in that moment?
So my 0 to 10, I think for me, and I always say it to people and they're always kind of surprised by it, but I actually think it makes so much sense, is thinking about your environment as the first and foremost. What situations and people can I avoid so that I don't behave and engage in habits that are bad for me? At least that was where I had to start. Because there's something in our brain called the basal ganglia. It's your autopilot. Mm-hmm. So if you're putting yourself in a situation where you behaved in a certain way, let's say that's with a group of people, let's say that's in an environment, your autopilot is going to kick in.
Yeah.
And there's kind of nothing almost we can do about that in that moment, because these habits that we've engaged in for so long, and that kind of autopilot mentality, it just happens without you thinking too much about it. So my 0 to 10 was reframing that. So what environments can I put myself in? Who can I spend my time with where I'm not going to engage in destructive behaviors and destructive habits?
A bit of a life audit.
Exactly that.
What am I, because I always talk about this, that quote, you're the sum of the 5 closest people.
Exactly.
To you.
And it's so
did
true.
you have a little bit of an epiphany thinking, okay, it is hard though, because you've obviously had those friendships for probably years. Yeah. And then the realization when you think, actually, it's probably not the most healthy relationships.
And it's a hard realization. It's a really hard realization, but a step back from that. So one of the biggest parts of the 0 to 10 is the environment. So that kind of life audit and the vision boarding of it.
Yeah.
So I think vision boarding is fundamental, but part of vision boarding, and I don't just mean, though it's fun to obviously like get your pictures and put them on a board, it's really thinking about the person I want to be. Yeah. What habits do they have? How did they feel? What daily activities do they do? Who did they surround themselves with? And how can I get there? And putting yourself in that position of, okay, I literally every night imagined how I would feel, how it would feel to be me. And that's how I feel now. Yeah. But you reframe your mind to be in that way. And I suppose with those relationships that didn't serve me any longer, I had to reframe my attitude and perspective slightly. Your life is really a series of chapters. People are there for a certain amount of chapters. And if you are leaving a situation thinking, I don't feel so good about myself, actually, and I didn't really enjoy that, or if you're spending time with someone who you feel maybe all they do is gossip and that kind of thing, it's okay to remove yourself from those situations. And some situations will be easier to remove yourself than others. It might be a difficult conversation. And I think on your journey, lots of difficult conversations, I'm sure you've had this, have to be had. And that's a part of growth. If you read the same chapter 3 million times, the ending's never going to change. You've got to, nothing changes if nothing changes. Yeah. Exactly. So for me, that 0 to 10 is about getting yourself. So obviously you have your amazing, Pilates, and I am not a Pilates instructor. I'm not a fitness instructor. I'm not a nutritionist. I'm not any of those things. But what I kind of aim to do is get people into a mindset, get to that 10, where you can then go out and find the fitness course that's going to work for you, find the nutrition plan that's going to work for me to get you to your 100. Yeah. But it's really about vision boarding, figuring out what it is you actually want. What are my goals? Yeah. What do I want to feel like? What are the habits I want to do?
Because that will look different. Not everyone wants a morning routine and to do this and do that. I think it's important to say that this can look so different for everyone, and creating that awareness of, like you say, what makes you feel good? Who makes you feel good? What are the moments where you're like, you come away from them and you feel so uplifted, so energized, and being aware of that and almost making a mental note of those situations. Yeah. And then from there, you can then create that. I mean, it's also, I would say, it's quite an exciting thought. So exciting. It's a weird thing to say, but if you are in those, like we've both been in those moments where it's like that dark cloud is just following you around. Yeah. If you are feeling like that, I think the good news is that you have the power to change. You have the power to change your life with a choice that day. And then it's just each day, just moving the needle a little bit more. And I think that's why your TikTok is just so I think, inspiring and helpful to people because it gives you that kind of, it's almost like you're everyone's accountability partner. I'm obsessed with accountability partners, and I think they're such a life hack, but you almost give that, like, it's like, okay, this is your reminder. You know what I mean?
Totally. And it's that reminder to show up, like you said, every single day and making those small changes. This is what James Clear says in Atomic Habits, about getting 1% better every single day. And I think we're so, and I loved what you put in your story last night. That's why I replied. I was like, yes, this, because, you know, you're saying it's not about an end goal. It's not about getting a summer body. It's not about, you know, I see and we're in such a culture of marketing where it's juice cleanses, you know, this 1 week or 2 week juice cleanse that's going to change your life, or this 8 week PT transformation, and it's going to and these things are all created and designed to get you back. Because where would the model be if it was, you know, these things are designed to...
It's that vicious cycle, the quick fixes. And
exactly.
I also think today we're constantly looking, we're in such a quick, fast-paced society now. We're constantly looking for that instant gratification.
Always.
And actually, there's so much to be said for a process of something and getting to that goal. And I think, you're so right in what you say. It's about that journey, and like you say, a juice cleanse is a perfect example for that.
And I think there's, you know, learning about that period of time. There's something else. Have you read Atomic Habits?
Yes, I love it.
It's the best book. And James Clear talks about the plateau of latent potential.
Mm-hmm.
And he talks about it being the time between you kind of doing the work and reaching your goal. And he talks about this thing called the valley of disappointment. And it's, you know, if you're showing up for yourself every day and you're not seeing the results, this idea of overnight success, it should be happening quickly. Yeah. And you've got to accept that it's not. But if you put in the work every day, you will look back in 6 months or a year or 2 years time and say, wow, I did that. Like when I look back to me a year or 2 years ago, often it feels like, did it all actually happen easily? And I think, God, if I had to go back to me 2 years ago, I don't think I could do it again.
It's crazy. And you don't, that's why I think writing is such a powerful tool, or some people like to record their journaling or whatever, but to go back and see what you've achieved is so incredible, and it kind of spurs you on, I think. And like you say, you can't, that's why I never do and your glow up plans are typically 30 days, right? Mm-hmm. Because once you're kind of past that, it's not like a 5-day thing, or, you know, do this in 3 days and you're going to feel amazing. It is kind of about creating that sustainable lifestyle that you can carry on and be consistent
exactly
with.
And they're always micro habits, so it's like the idea is that after that 30 days you got from your 0 to 10, hopefully, if you showed up for yourself, and that these micro habits you've implemented are so simple and so easy that you'll just carry them on.
Then maybe you'll add to them or extend them or make them a little bit more, go deeper in those. So what we've just discussed, Atomic Habits, but what were the other books? Because reading is just such an incredible tool, and I think it's so helpful to have book tips from people like you.
So helpful. The Mountain Is You.
Oh, I'm going to write this down.
I always say her name wrong. It's Brianna
West,
but it's not West. It's like West or West.
Oh, okay.
And that book,
I'm writing it down.
That book's incredible, because I think a big part for me on this journey has been taking accountability for everything.
Yeah.
It's no one else's fault. It's no one else's problem. Everything in my life is up to me.
It's down to you.
It's down to me. And I think I see a lot of people, or at least I kind of would see a lot of people around me really kind of blaming external factors and woe is me and the world owes me something. And it's sort of like, you make your own destiny. I believe that truly. I don't think the world really owes anybody anything. I think you work hard and you cultivate a positive mindset and you do the work and do the things, but you're not owed anything.
I think that's such an important thing to say. And obviously you've mentioned that there are certain issues in life that you cannot change and that are terrible, like illnesses and things like that. But the things that you can control, you are the only person that control those. So just get up.
Yeah.
And what's that Kim Kardashian thing that she said?
Get off your ass and work. Yeah.
Everyone needs to work, or
Yeah,
whatever she said. So I just think it's such an important point to just have that responsibility for yourself.
Yeah.
And as we were mentioning, having that accountability partner is always helpful if you are in a journey like this.
So helpful.
So that was a good book. So The Mountain Is You. Were there any others that were like kind of really spoke to you at that time?
I'm trying to think.
Do you know Louise Hay? Have you read her books?
No, I haven't.
You have to read all of them. There's Heal Your Life, Heal Your Body, Heal Your Mind.
I need to read those.
Gabby Bernstein. Do you know
Yes,
Gabby
yes,
Bernstein?
yeah.
The Universe Has Your Back. That's a really good one.
And then a lot of like Abraham Hicks and Mel Robbins.
Yes.
The 7 Habits of Highly Successful People.
Oh, that's a good one. I love Mel Robbins' Let Them theory.
That changed my life.
Okay, tell me.
That changed my life. And there was another girl, and it leads into it, who did a TikTok that I'll kind of talk about because I just think it was such an amazing way of thinking. But the let them theory is this idea that people are going to talk negatively about you.
Yeah.
Whether you're doing well, whether you're doing badly, whether you're not doing anything at all.
Yeah.
People are going to talk negatively about you because people love to talk negatively. And, you know, I certainly had a lot of that in my life. And especially when I don't know if you found this starting up on social media, but when I was starting on TikTok, it was a lot of, oh my God, it's so embarrassing.
I wanted to ask you this because you said you did a TikTok about, you know, if you're dealing with people saying like it's so cringy and things like that. So have you had friends of yours kind of?
Yeah. I've had not friends of mine.
Say kind of like, what are you doing?
Sort of like, oh God, it's so cringe, or it's so that, and you think, okay, or, you know, oh, it's like so easy or whatever. And you think, okay, well,
do it
then. You know, if it's so easy, then do it. And if it's so kind of, if I'm so undeserving of it, then do it. And I think it going back to what I said, the let them theory, people are going to talk badly about you whether you're doing well or not, so let them, because it's actually none of your business. Other people's opinions of you aren't really any of your business. And as long, it goes on to another video of a girl I saw who said, think about the 5 people in your life whose opinion you value the absolute most.
Yes, yeah.
And place so much value on their opinion and what they think of you and their support of you and what they're doing, that everything else is white noise. It doesn't even matter. And she says 1 in 10 people you meet is not going to like you. And that is a fact. And there is nothing you can do about that.
Yeah.
And we're all guilty of it. We've all like met people that for some reason or another, we just don't gel with maybe. And we just actually, you know, maybe those intrusive thoughts come in where we're kind of thinking something negatively, and hopefully we kind of take ourselves back and remind ourselves, actually, that's not kind and we shouldn't think that. But inevitably as people, we do. And that's just something innate to us. That's culturally as well. We're kind of programmed to have these negative thoughts about people and things. But it's just the way it is. And I think if we can accept that sometimes people aren't going to like you or they're going to judge you for no other reason than a reflection of how they're feeling about themselves, or that they just don't like you and that you can't control that. That's actually out of your control. And that made it a lot easier for me on my journey to just start sharing and not caring really what people thought.
Exactly. And I think, why would you care about the people you don't care about? Do you know what I mean? Like, so if you are, you know, why would you care about the people that don't know you, don't know the real you, aren't interested in getting to know you? You just wouldn't. You wouldn't. So the ones that you care about are the ones that care about you, and you care about them, and they're close to you. So I think it's just, and you just have to go for it. I mean, don't let anything hold you back, because, and actually a book that's really good on that topic is Feel the Fear and Do It Anyway. I don't know if you, that really helped me. I was so shy, so it's really helped me just think, okay, fuck it, I'm just going to go for it.
Really, are you?
I was so shy, and I was so nervous. I remember one of my friends who actually at the time, she had a kind of a maybe like 30,000 followers or something. She'd asked me to send her a Pilates video, and I had no following then. And I recorded it and then sent it to her, and then I panicked and was like, please don't post that. And then all of this has kind of happened, and I just don't care anymore. You know, I'll do classes with no makeup on first thing in the morning, and I just think, whatever.
What was the moment
matters.
for you?
Well, actually, it was when my mum got ill.
Yeah.
That just made me think nothing matters. Who actually cares? who cares
Yeah.
that I maybe don't look my best in a video, or, you know, if I always keep for example, there was like a silence in one of my videos that I filmed yesterday because I was about to, you know, when a sneeze is coming, you can't talk.
Yeah.
So I just had this like really long pause and then this really loud sneeze, just stupid things like that. Or if I mess my words up or whatever, I don't edit them. I just keep it in.
Good for you. I love
everyone's human. And I think you just have to put yourself out there, be vulnerable, if you're a good person and you're hardworking, that's all that matters. So that's kind of like what but before my mum was ill, I cared about everything. I was so anxious and stuff. So it's almost given me that like calm power, like confidence.
Totally. Because as well, you have to learn to reassure yourself in those situations. Yeah.
And for me, I don't know how you felt, but it was all connected to self-worth. I had low self-worth. And I would literally do these like visualizations every single morning on building up my self-worth. And like you say, for me, it wasn't so much about the vision boarding, which I also think is such a powerful thing. But for me, it was daily visualization.
Every evening. There was a year where I said to myself, I'm going to do a visualization meditation every evening. And I cannot stress the power of it enough.
It's incredible.
And I think this is why my videos and content have done so well. I'm not trying to sell anything to anyone. It's free.
You're sharing the tools that have actually changed your life.
Exactly. And I just think it's been so powerful for me. And I would read, it was when Roxy's book came out, 7 Steps to Manifesting. And when that came out, I would read like a few pages of that a night so I could really digest it. And then I would do my visualization.
And what does visualization look for you?
So I have a meditation literally on YouTube. It's like, visualize your highest, best self.
Okay.
And she walks you through, it's a guided meditation of, now imagine how you'll feel with this. And what do you look like? And how are you feeling? And who are you with? And where are you? And you're really, it's like, step-by-step guiding, and it's so simple, and it's literally on YouTube.
And you're even in tune, like for me, I'm in tune with the senses. It's like you can almost like smell.
You can smell it.
And you're aware of what's going on.
Totally. And something in that pocket of peace every single evening for me is just the most powerful thing. Because it's like, even if I've had a bad day or whatever it might be, it's like, no, but it's fine, because that's coming, you know, that I will have this.
You create that reality for yourself through your thoughts. It's just, it's so powerful. I always say to people, if they have like an interview or anything like that that's coming up, visualize every second of what's going to happen. And
for sure.
And I like to write down afterwards, so that I just love to go back and be like, oh my God, that whole entire, because otherwise you're like, did I imagine that I said that? Did I actually say that? So I visualize, I do the visualization, and then I like put pen to paper on what I just visualized, so that then after the thing I can go back and be like, you see, it's working.
It's so
reassures. For sure. Okay, so these are great tips, and oh my God, I'm going to read that book straight away. So dealing with friendships and things, and you just finding you then kind of found your circle, your positive tribe. How was that?
It's amazing. And I think
were they already in your life, or were they
some have come into my life in the most amazing, bizarre way. I think when you make room in your life for positivity, and that's something else that I think people worry so much about having room in their life. I think people like to have a life that's filled with either, you know, a partner or friends or whatever it might be, that they know is not necessarily serving them, and your body knows, and it will tell you in one way or another. And when you make room for that abundance, and you make room for positive energy by maybe, you know, just saying goodbye to a relationship or a friendship or a situation, you make room for positivity to come in.
Yeah.
So there's room for new friendships, and there's room for new relationships and new work opportunities or whatever it might be, but you have to be open to them. And I know I sound kind of woo-woo right now, but since kind of removing the negativity from my life,
that opens up a whole realm.
It's opened up a whole realm, and I've never felt, and I turned to my partner the other night and I said, I've never felt so secure in my female friendships ever.
Oh, that's amazing.
Which is amazing. And I was
Female friendships are so important.
So important.
That's another thing. Do not, if you're in a new relationship, don't give up on your girlfriends, because we all know that person, or we've been in that situation where you're just in that little like love bubble and you just want to be with your boyfriend and blah, blah, blah. But actually female friendships are so key. So key. And so important to the rest of your life. So I think it's really important to always prioritize that.
Totally.
And have girl time.
Totally. And it's that girl time and you crave it and you really want it. But I think oftentimes I would think maybe there was something wrong with me because I didn't feel like I had that tribe, or I didn't feel like I necessarily fit into it. And since making that room and really like cultivating the group of women that I've surrounded myself with, I feel so much more positive about myself.
Yeah.
Because I'm surrounded by that positivity and like-mindedness, and it just aligns. And it's not even necessarily that it's something negative on people that aren't in my life anymore. Yeah. It just wasn't a fit.
It wasn't, exactly. And I think it is a tricky one when you want to kind of like, a friendship's not working for you, but I think there is a way of, maybe you still want to keep them in your life, but maybe you have certain boundaries or, timings of where you want to see knowing.
Exactly.
So it's not about just like, everyone get out of my life.
No, totally not. And I've said it before, it's about, for me, for instance, it was going out and partying. So if I wanted to see those friends, we'd meet for lunch or we'd meet for a walk. It's just reframing the scenario and the environment in which you see them.
Yeah. Yeah. And actually, you're probably so positively surprised by those situations that actually have been amazing.
Yeah.
So how would you deal with that fear? We just spoke about feel the fear and do it anyway. Did you have that fear before you put yourself out there? Or did you just think, I'm going to do this?
I have always been a performer.
Okay.
So I was really, and I still to a degree get it quite badly, really bad social anxiety. I wouldn't say I'm an introvert, but I get quite, when I'm in a party situation or there's lots of people, one-on-one I'm always okay, but when there's lots of people or I'm meeting new people, I actually and always since I was like young child, it's just like, this is heat inside me of like crippling fear of like, just something in me is so shy. And of course it gets better as you get older, but it still arises sometimes. But whenever I would be on stage, whether that was singing, acting, performing, doing debate competitions, whatever it was, when I was on stage and I couldn't see anyone because you like can't see anyone when you're on stage, it's like a weird thing. I didn't care. I was like at my happiest, most confident, and there was something about that. And I would sit in my room and like make YouTube videos that I never posted on Photo Booth, when I was like 9-10 years old. And I loved making videos and I loved performing. But I think certainly when we were at school, no one was doing social media and no one was doing public speaking or podcasts or anything like that. So options of what you could do with that being your skill set were pretty limited. And luckily for me, I found something I'm incredibly passionate about and care deeply about, and I get to combine it with my great love, which is performing. And I guess it's not performing because it's me, but it's performing in the sense of I'm creating videos and putting myself out there. Exactly. And so I think at first maybe I felt a certain way, but only because of what people would say.
Okay.
Not because that I ever felt that it was wrong or that I was scared to do it. It was only the fear of people kind of, seeing me film and like laughing. And to be honest with you, that very quickly dissipated, I think, because I loved doing it so much. And I'm so grateful that I get to now call this my full-time job.
When you start to see the response and the people that you're helping, it kind of overrides.
It overrides it all.
So when did you officially make it your full-time job? Was that a difficult 4 months ago?
Yeah.
Oh my God. Was that a difficult decision?
How do I put this? It goes back to what we were just talking about. The universe literally
just opened up,
threw it to me. Oh. I was in a new job, which I had the highest of hopes for. And I've always got on really well wherever I worked, and I didn't. And so it literally was just this case of, I've got a decision to make because I have to leave this job. Let's just do it. And I think, people have been saying it to me for a while, and I kind of knew in my gut, I really should just go it full time. But you always have those worries of, do I have enough money?
Yes, and, of course.
Am I in a position where I can do that? And I got to this place where it was like,
No,
the universe
this is our
was
moment.
literally like,
yeah, let's go for it.
You're going to go right now and you're going to jump and the net will appear. And it's been 4 months and it's going really well.
That's amazing. And how do you now structure your day?
So I think structure is
I'm obsessed with routines and hearing about people's days, and I just love it.
I'm obsessed with routine, and I think structure is so important. I think for me, because brain health is very important to me as well, obviously because of my mum's diagnosis. So for me, getting those 8 hours of sleep a night, I harp on and on and on about it, but I'm in bed at the same time and I wake up at the same time every single day. I think that is so fundamental, especially if you're working for yourself.
What time is that?
I go to bed, I'm in bed at 9:30, I sleep at 10, and I'm up at 6:30.
Wow.
And that works for me. I've always been
But what about social life? What about dinners?
Early dinners. But I think you've also got to allow yourself a bit of leeway and a couple of hours off, right? But like for me, I'm not staying out past 12, really. It isn't something that really
you enjoy,
falls into my life so much anymore. And I still see my girlfriends all the time and see my family and everything and see my boyfriend all the time, but it works for me and that's my structure. And so if I'm going to see someone, it needs to be a bit earlier, or I'll, there's leeway with it, like I'm not going to say, right, it's bedtime, got to go. But if I don't have plans, that's the structure. Okay. And I think it's about 80-20, life's all 80-20. We can't be perfect the whole time.
So you wake up about 6:30.
Wake up at 6:30, do my skincare routine, take my supplements, have my matcha, and then I will usually have something to eat and then
Which
go and
do you take?
Oh my God, this is like so many. At the moment, the rotation is I'm doing the shreddy greens.
Yeah.
Love those.
Okay, I've never tried.
The Anessa probiotics.
Right.
Omega-3. Mm-hmm. It's like not a sexy supplement, but I genuinely believe everybody should be taking omega-3.
Yeah.
Digestive enzymes before meals. I have Wild Dose, do this amazing bloating pill, which I'll take before meals if I feel like I need it.
Okay.
Vitamin D, magnesium before bed, and L-glutamine powder in my water with my greens.
Okay.
Which is amazing for strengthening your gut lining. It's kind of like a plaster for your gut lining if you've got leaky gut or any gut problems. Very focused on gut health.
Yeah.
Vitamin A for my skin helps the absorption of the omega-3, and vitamin C. But sometimes that'll just be in like an orange because vitamin C helps with the absorption of other supplements.
Matcha's high in vitamin C.
So perfect. So I've got it anyway. And I do my matcha, which is the antioxidants, vitamin C.
Yeah.
And obviously gives you that kind of waking you up without that caffeine high and like jitter anxiety.
Yeah, that is
which is crucial. And I've also been kind of experimenting with like ashwagandha, lion's mane, chaga, that kind of thing. I think there's a lot to be said for the kind of mushroom supplements and powders. I think it's difficult to find really good ones. I do like the dirty chaga, which I think is amazing. And when I had my psoriasis outbreak, I replaced coffee altogether with that and saw amazing results from that.
That's what I wanted to ask. What were the big changes you think have had the most impact on your psoriasis?
So these are it's such a personal illness and it's such a personal disease. So I've always kind of prefaced like, this is what worked for me, but it might not work for everybody. And whenever I tell my doctors, they're like, no. And I'm like, yes, this is what I did. So when I had my last flare, which was started in October, it was the worst one I'd had in years. It was really, really bad. And I went on an anti-inflammatory diet.
Okay.
Which I think a lot of people would they kind of say, oh, so does that mean you're gluten and dairy free? And I'm like, I can't even explain because it's so complicated, but it's essentially avoiding foods that cause inflammation.
Yeah.
So that could be nightshades, which is tomatoes, peppers, aubergines, white potatoes, gluten as well, is inflammatory, alcohol, obviously, caffeine, things like that. And then I was taking collagen, omega-3, vitamin A to help with the absorption of those into the skin. And I was using niacinamide, which is an anti-inflammatory cream on my body. And I was prioritizing sleep and rest. And that was the crux of what I was doing.
Wow.
And
how long did it take to clear up?
3 months fully. Within about a month and a half, 2 months, it was all just white. So it goes to kind of white hyperpigmentation, and then cleared up.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's amazing. I mean, those tips are so... I'm the same with my arthritis. It doesn't work for everyone, but certain things have just been completely transformative. So how do you eat? Are you vegan? Are you a meat eater? Do you have no dairy?
I'm a meat eater. I avoid dairy if I can, just because of can be quite inflammatory depending on the quality of the dairy. But like what we have access to quality wise is not always necessarily the best.
Yeah.
I would say I focus a lot on foods that are going to nourish me. I think people are quite quick to go to supplements, and obviously I've just listed off a long list of supplements that I take, but they're very focused on things.
You can't just mask something with a pill.
Exactly.
You have to kind of work on other stuff.
You've got to nourish your body as well. So it's focusing on foods, and I've always been so interested in foods that, knowing what was in them.
Yeah.
So knowing what has kind of vitamin A and vitamin K and vitamin C, and where can I get natural probiotics from, and prebiotics, so like sauerkrauts and fermented foods and that kind of thing. So it's where can I add in things to my meals that I'm kind of masked. So can I add kimchi or sauerkraut or like a handful of spinach into my food?
Yeah.
So that's going to add in all of those
extra
vitamins
benefits.
And probiotics and prebiotics. There are lots of different ways to do that. And, obviously eating salmon, you think, oh, great, omegas. But actually with the quality of salmon being what it is now, you want to kind of look elsewhere for fish. And that's why getting a high quality omega-3 supplement is so important. So it's
to balance it out.
There are lots of ways to, nourish your body through food and through what you're drinking, and, avoiding caffeine too much and avoiding alcohol, obviously. I never like to kind of preach that because I do drink.
Yes, same.
I've significantly reduced what I drink, and I kind of focus on higher quality alcohol when I do drink. But when I say to, if you're really wanting to make a change, it's probably something you should think about reducing, and the same with caffeine. But I think generally speaking with food, if it's sometimes convenience needs to be what it is, but if you can try and have something that at least
making
feels like whole
choices
foods, exactly,
when you can, and then it is like an 80-20 thing.
It's an 80-20 thing. You've got to enjoy your life. My boyfriend is a personal trainer. He always says that last bit of weight that you want to lose, or that whatever it is, that's just your life. That last, because we all have that kind of, if I just could do this, if I just could do that, that's just life. And I think accepting that's very important too.
I completely agree. And I was actually having this conversation with my boyfriend last night. He was like, Bryony, do you know what? Having a hangover sometimes is good for you.
I agree.
And he's very kind of he's helped me just chill the hell out, because I can be so obsessive about my routine and hard on myself if I don't have, things like that. And he's just made me be like, okay, no, you're right. It's good. That is living, and that's what's important.
That's living.
That is a glow up.
100%. And you've got to be able to do both.
You have to have the balance, because you're not going to be happy if you're restricting yourself. And also I think it's about what you add to your life, not always taking away stuff.
Exactly. You've got to be able to kind of, we're talking about habit stacking, adding things into your life in a way that feels good, and you don't have to try and make too many changes, and, having that hangover because you had a really fun night with your partner or your girlfriends or whoever it might be. It's so important, but you're doing all the work 80% of the time, so that when you wake up, A, you've not taken it too far. Yeah. And B, you're not riddled with the anxiety, because you're like, do you know what?
Giving yourself that.
Give yourself a break. I'm a really good, hardworking person. Yeah. I take care of my body. And actually, hangovers are less bad when you take care of your body more.
It's so true.
I genuinely believe that. I think symptoms of a lot of illnesses, my PMS, my periods, my
all
hangovers,
of those things do improve.
They all improve when you start to kind of take care of your body a bit more.
I agree. So I could honestly sit and chat for ages, but I know we have to wrap it up. So could you tell me your top 3 glow up tips, if you could only pick 3?
Okay, top 3 glow up tips. Number 1 would be accepting that this is a journey. It's a marathon, not a sprint. I think as first and foremost step, if you can accept that your glow up journey is something that's ongoing. I get asked a lot, how long did it take you to glow up? I'm like, I'm still doing it, I always do those posts, glowing and growing, because I think we are forever glowing and growing. So giving yourself a break and accepting that these things take time and that change takes time, positive change takes time. Number 2 would be to try and aim for 7 to 9 hours of sleep a night. That might not be accessible for every single person. Obviously, it's dependent, but if you really can, the studies that have shown for anxiety disorders, for stress, for illnesses that can affect you later in life, which obviously, I've seen kind of firsthand. I think making sure that you're getting enough sleep and just taking care of your brain health. I think we focus a lot on aesthetics and physical, our bodies, thinking about our brain and our mental health. And the third thing, I think, would be to find a movement that you really love. For me, it's Pilates, which is, why I kind of, have followed you for so long and admire you so much. But it doesn't have to be the same for everyone. Find a movement that you love. That could be dancing, walking, swimming, trampolining, tennis. I see a lot of people doing paddle now. I think finding that movement that you love and showing up for yourself every single day, or at least not missing 2 days in a row. Yeah. If you get out your mat and you get one of Bridie's videos up and you do 2 minutes of that workout, you are still in that mindset of that habit. That tomorrow it's going to be easier for you to get out the mat and do 10 minutes.
For sure.
And so on and so forth. So it would be keeping to the habits that you've promised yourself that you're going to stick to.
And I think, like you say, that's a really good point. Finding something that you love is so important. Obviously, I'd love for you guys to all do Pilates, but I don't think Pilates is necessarily the thing that everyone wants to do. So I think, whether it's yoga or a running club or something, just something that excites you and feels enjoyable, that you can then be like, okay, tomorrow morning I'm going to get up and do that. And it just feels a little bit less, takes the edge off. Yeah. The worst thing is if you dread that form of movement, and it needs to feel like you're investing in yourself, you're treating yourself. It is a treat to be able to move your body rather than a punishment. So
absolutely.
Thank you so much.
Thank you so much for having me.
Thank you for coming and just being the glowiest, most gorgeous person. And where can everyone find you?
So on TikTok and Instagram, it is at Izzy Utterson.
Thank you so much, Izzy.
Thank you.